And after a week off, the Six Nations is back. And what a game they have to come back to. England have got big rivals, Scotland at Twickenham. Let's look ahead now with our sports reporter, Pablo Edward.
Thank you, Roisin. Yes, this weekend sees leaders Ireland travel to Cardiff to face struggling Wales. And in Rome, both Italy and France look to go one better after their thrilling draw last year. But of course, all eyes are on London at Twickenham as Scotland and England play the 143rd edition of the Calcutta Cup in what is the oldest fixture in international rugby. In the last hour, Scotland have announced their squad, which sees superstar Finn Russell in the starting 15. Russell, who before the tournament was the favourite to start for the upcoming Lions tour, has yet to hit the ground running. Chris Jones, host of BBC Radio 5 Live's Rugby Union Weekly, had this to say about what the Scotland fly half needs to do in order to cement his place.
Where Finn is in a completely different situation to previous tours is there is no Dan Biggar or Owen Farrell or Johnny Sexton. So Finn is the main man. He's the only one with Lions experiences, but he just probably needs to produce a performance just to remind Andy Farrell of how good he is. We know how good he is, but he would just need to cut the mistakes out of his game he had against Italy and just try and have that kind of really composed all-round performance with the bits of magic that he can provide.
England, on the other hand, go into the game fresh off a last-minute win against France. Earlier, I spoke to The Guardian's rugby correspondent Rob Kitson about whether the victory against France has masked the problems England and Borthwick have faced in recent years.
And I think their problem has been that, you know, they've lurched from one thing to another. I think they look a bit more stable to me. As you say, you can't judge everything on one game, but it just seemed to me that they've got good players there. Borthwick's a great believer in cohesion, and the more times players play together, the more comfortable they'll be. I think that only works up to an extent if your players, again, as I said before, if your players are good enough or better than other teams, then that'll work. I think it only takes you so far. So yeah, I think it's a big game. It's a big game for England.
I'm now joined in the studio by lifelong England fan Benedict Santry, who grew up in Edinburgh and now lives in London. Benny, thank you for joining me.
Not at all. Thanks for having me.
First of all, I'd like to ask you, what was it like as an England fan growing up in Edinburgh, and what are your memories of this fixture?
I have very fond memories of this fixture, watching England dominate for years, including some great wins at Murrayfield, which I was lucky enough to be at. Of course, this fixture does stir strong feelings of English identity and culture within me, as being the odd one out amongst my Scottish friends was very challenging, and the memories of late have been less fond due to the Scottish dominance, but this only heightens the weight and excitement of this classic fixture.
Do you think it differs now watching the game in London as opposed to the Scottish capital?
No, not at all. I don't think it changes that much. It's the same passion, the same identity, just a far less hostile environment to watch the game surrounded by fellow Englishmen.
And do you see Scotland as England's biggest rival?
Absolutely. It's a historic rivalry, only heightened by the shift to Scottish dominance as of late.
Now, if we look to the game, Scotland were left bitterly disappointed after losing to Ireland. If they were to lose this Saturday, where does it leave this generation of talented players?
That's an interesting question. I think on one hand, yes, this team is the best for a generation, and this conversation shows how far Scotland have come. However, Scotland have been very weak this tournament. Combined with the Rugby World Cup disappointment, questions will be asked of Gregor Townsend.
And before we go, can I get a quick prediction?
I think England are going to win 30-12.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.